Hello everyone, welcome back to day 28 or 40 days of our AWS Cloud series. I'm Chan and today we are going to learn very important from the DevSecOps and the security perspective that is AWS Config for us. So let's understand what is AWS Config and how it's generally used in the security world. So AWS Config is a service of AWS Cloud where it is generally been used in the security world. Like you have heard about the DevSecOps part. Okay, you have heard about the DevOps part. Okay, DevOps part. So DevOps means development plus operations part. But here the SecOps, the SecOps part, generally comes under the security places. The SecOps means security. So here it generally means DevOps plus security plus operations part. So here the DevSecOps comes into the play. But what is config? What is AWS config? How generally it helps into the security world, into AWS Cloud Series? So everyone is getting these kinds of questions related to security words, like we have to secure our thing. So AWS config is a service that helps into monitor, record, and evaluate the configurations of AWS resources. Suppose you have created an EC2 instances. This is your EC2 instances and you have attached some kinds of policies like no one should get the public access, how the public access can get by SSH part. Okay, so suppose a new person comes up and he generally attach some kind of security groups and those he is able to access the security part, but we will not again and again come up and again check all this particular thing. So AWS config is generally like here the security camera. He will just monitor the things like whoever has created the SSL public access. It will create some kinds of rule. It will automatically delete that particular part. We don't need to go and manually check it out over here. So like this way, suppose you are working in an organization. Okay, this is your one whole source organization, and around 500 people have been there. Then you have something around 50 plus AWS account by suppose. Okay, so anyone can do any of the thing, any of the things you can continuously go and monitor. So here AWS config will keep an eye on those per your AWS accounts. Okay, this on AWS account, and it will uh, check out the things for you. Okay, now what next? The next part comes into the play is that is about our monetizations part. So how to evaluate all these particular things over here? Okay, now how to evaluate things particular over here. So I just talk about as AWS config is security camera for our AWS environment. So it keeps track of what's happening, and more importantly, it tells if something is not as per our organization's policies. So someone has done something wrong, someone has done some kind of thing. So it will just check with us, and it will let us know if someone has played the things with us. But now, why is general being used? Like you got the context part, okay, it's provide a security AWS config, like it's something like a security camera, it's something like a eye to our AWS accounts. Okay, but why it's generally being used over here? Okay, like why AWS config is important in DevSecOps world. Why? So basically, in DevOps one, like we just talk about security plus automations plus compliances. Like we have been implementing the security, so we also need the automations world. We also need the compliances world. Compliances are nothing but here generally mean as the rules part. Okay, compliances are uh, compliances. Okay, compliances are nothing but here rules. Like we define some kinds of rule, like this person should not able to get the public access. This person should not able to terminate the EC2 instances. This kinds of multiple rules we generally create on our AWS services. So no other person, third party person, if they make the changes, it will automatically roll back to that particular part. So with the AWS config, we do the things like detect if someone has opened the port number 22 on the production server. So we get detections, we get the notifications part. We also ensure that all EC2 instances are properly tagged. Like suppose we have just set a limit, like everyone will be launching the T2 small one. If someone launch the T2 dot medium one, so it will automatically come back to the T2 small one. So as I talk about, 50 people have been working, so anyone can come, anyone can launch, so we can manually keep the eye. So here we create some kind of rules, so it will automatically check it will, if the someone has a launch T2 medium, it will automatically roll back to the T2 small part. So it automatically take remediation step if something goes out of the policy. Here the main thing, the main concept that's come into the place is remediation steps. Okay, remediations are something like the rollbacks part. If someone has something done wrong, it will automatically roll back for us, so it takes a remediation step. So this generally means like AWS config helps us enforcing compliance as a code. It generally works on compliance as a code. If you have heard about like AWS CloudFormation or Terraform part, it generally works on infrastructure as a code. So this AWS config works on a compliance as code, where we create multiple rules and these rules have been applied on our AWS cloud services. So this happens for the setting up rules, ensures our cloud resources always follow them. Okay, so in AWS config there are generally two types of rules, okay, in the AWS cloud. First, that is the AWS managed rule. Like these are the rules that's been generally created by the AWS, and there are the different many rules. I will be explain them quickly. And another, that is the custom rules. Custom rules are something like which we create by ourselves manually part, like manually, in case we write in our own language, we write in our own lambda based logics. And but AWS are predefined rules by the AWS, like while checking your from the public S3 bucket part. So in case today we will use a managed rule for checking the security groups part. Okay, so this is all about like AWS config part. But why this generally matters while you are using the AWS cloud? Because security is everyone's responsibility, not just for the security tool. So tools like AWS config generally helps into the build the part, okay, to automate the part, to secure the part. The secure part is one of the major concern into the company while we have been working with them, and to automate cloud environments also. So this is the future of DevSecOps compliances by bright right into your cloud part. So let's do one thing. Let's quickly jump to the demo part. Let me quickly show you some of the practical part, how the thing generally uh, flows here. So let me quickly launch my AWS console. Yeah, I'm into my AWS cloud. Now you have to just quickly search for the AWS config. Okay, once you are into the AWS config, you will see this kinds of look and view. It takes some time to open, so don't worry. It's opening. So like AWS config look like this. You will be not getting this kinds of dashboard. You will be getting this kinds of AWS config part. Okay, while using first time. So AWS config generally records and evaluates configurations of your AWS resources. Like it generally, how's it work? I just talked about. We have some configuration changes occurs in AWS resources. So AWS config generally record and normalize the changes into the constant format. Like suppose someone has added the public access to the EC2 instance, it will record, yeah, this person has done. It will automatically roll back to the again previous versions roles only, and you can integrate with many of the services. So here what all the benefits we have, it's generally used for the continuous monitoring, continuous change management, continuous assessment, operational and troubleshooting the part. So let's quickly get started. So you will be getting a get started button, and after getting started you will be look some this kinds of settings you have to provide over there. What a kind of settings? First of all, you have to you will get this kind of things. So uh, you have to set the data retention policies period. So like how long you want to store your data. So they have been providing the S3 bucket. If you have any S3 bucket, so you can just choose the S3 bucket name. If you don't have, you can just create the S3 bucket. Like suppose in my case, I'm just creating a S3 bucket by name as AWS Cloud series for 30 days. Okay, I'm just providing this kinds of S3 bucket name. Now you have to just quickly save your bucket, get created, and it will start storing. How to cross check? You can come over here into the S3, open into a new tab. Before just opening again, you have to also edit this. Like you will get this kinds of settings over while you are getting started first. So you have to first of all enable the recording. Why enabling the recordings is the one of the most important part over here. So let me quickly show you why this enabling the recordings are being one of the part showcases over here. Why generally recordings? What generally this recording generally means over here? So if you want to monitor all over your AWS resources, right? You want yeah. So you want all your AWS resources. to be monitored, right? Like you want EC2, someone is using EC2, you want Lambda, you want each and everything, because recordings are generally like it will record whole your AWS resources 7 times. Like it's something like it, they have been providing some kind of time period, so they generally record and they start storing into the S. Like we have defined the bucket, right? Bucket in the upside side. So they generally enable the record. They always just check like any kind of changes happen, someone has changed or someone has made the all those changes. So here enable recording plays one of the most important vital role into the AWS config part. Okay, now let's quickly jump to the practical purpose. Uh, Let me quickly open. Yes, we are into it. Now, what next? We have to recording strategies method. What kind of methods you want? Do you want to specific? You do here they have been providing. Do you want to specify? Do you want to only record only for the EC2 instances, or do you want to go with all resources like in the AWS cloud? All sources they will be recording. They will be monitoring the part. If you want to go with the specific part like for the S3 things, if you want for the S3, if you want for some kind of Lambda, they have it providing for the S3 access point buckets, and they have some kinds of frequency like continuously on the continuously basis, or you want onto the daily basis. But we are right now choosing all resources type of customizable, right? Okay, you want continuous recordings, right? Right, like record configuration changes continuously when any changes occur. So if someone changes occurs, it will automatically record and it will give us the some kind of notification if we add. Then resource type EC2 instances, I'm just setting up to the daily records. You can add more resource type, like you can add for the S3s also, S3 bucket point, and what kind of override you want. I want to set to the daily recordings part. Okay. Then IAM role for the AWS config. Do you want to use any existing, or you want to choose a rule? So you can just create, they will be providing choose or existing one, so you just create and you have to just quickly create the part. After moving all these particular custom steps, you will be coming to this kinds of dashboard part, or you will become kind of this particular part. Now what next? How to create the rules? Yes, we got into the configs part. Okay, we have just created a config. Now we have to set some kinds of rules over here so that we can manage the thing. So what kind of rules do we generally have? So I just talked about, we have AWS managed rule, we have custom rule. We can use the custom rules also, or the create the custom rule. So what kinds of rules you want? You want for the access key? Do you want for the, suppose I just talked about the security part. Okay, we have like disabling the, let me quickly come up over here. Let me quickly show you. Okay, this is the one of the security group which is generally saying like restrict the SSH. Okay, so what is generally doing? This is restricting the SSH part, whether checks whether security groups that are in disallow restrictive. So incoming traffic part. So like this way, you can restrict this particular part. So let me just move to the next. Okay, now what next? They have been providing the configure rule. They have just provided by default because these are the AWS managed rule. So they have just written by their own only. So do you want what kind of resources that you want to monitor? Like you want EC2 security groups, what kind of things you want? So for the quick, it takes some time. So let me just quickly show you small demo. We just give the tag like E and V is equals to prod. Okay, we are just providing some kind of text. So whenever the security groups matches, it will remove. What the frequency you want, in every 1 hour it is going to check. Now you have to just move to the next part. There is the review, and you have to just quickly save. Now once these things get done, what is I just saying, can't because the rules with the same. Yeah, I already have the rules with the same name. So same thing I have just done over here with the secret part. So what I have done over here, I have just used let me quickly delete this redemptions rules so I can show you the redemptions also. Okay, so now what next? Now we have to just quickly, I just talked about the S3 bucket part. So we have just created the bucket name and AWS Cloud series of the 30 days. Once you go into it you go to the AWS logs. Into the AWS logs, they have your account ID. This is my account ID. So they are storing logs of this particular account ID. Okay, now once you are into it, you will check the config part. into the config file, they have been config writable file. So they have been storing some kinds of data, some kinds of logs over here into this particular S3 bucket. Now, once you go to the EC2 instances, you can come up over here. Now your EC2 instance been getting long. So what else you can do? You can just create a security group, and that security group you can attach to the EC2 instances. So I've already created a security groups with me. In that security groups, let me just quickly open into a new tab. In that security groups, I have just attached some kinds of tags. So let me show you how you can create. Just create the security group. What the name you want? I just want to name as 30 days. Uh, I just want to give the name as 30 days cloud. Okay, allow description any SSH do you want, and what is the inbound rules we are just providing? We want to use for the SSH part, like SSH port number 20 custom. I want to anywhere IPv4. This is the rules being created. And what's the tag you want? Yeah, I'm just adding the tag. Enter the tag key name. Key name is nothing but we have just provided env, and its value was the prod, right? And we have to just quickly come over here, and you have to just create the security groups. Yeah, your security group has been successfully created. Now what next? We have just created this particular security groups. Now what we can do, you can just come back to the EC2 instances part, or else you can come to the rules part. Once you check with the rules part, are they come into the detective compliances? No, because they take some times to come up, something around 30 to 35 minutes, okay, sometime. So here you will get to know non-compliant resources. Suppose I have added some I have added some kinds of SSH resources over here. Now how it is monitoring what the redemptions rules been worked over here. So you have to create a redemption rule if they found like someone has enabled, like we have just come up over here, and we have just enabled this SSH public access part. Now, once the AWS Cloud config has checked, yes, it has made some changes. Now we have to just come over here, and you have to just choose the redemption actions. What kind of redemption actions you want? What kind of rollbacks you want? So we are just applying on disable public access for the security groups. Okay, you'll just scroll down. What you want to go for the group ID, and this is my assumption rule which have been created. What I have created over here, you have to go to the IAM. Okay, you have to create a role for here for the particular part. Why the role? Because this redemptions actions role are running using the AWS system manager for the automations world. What generally happens, we have AWS config part, and behind the scene AWS system manager contacts, and from system manager contacts, let me quickly show you with a quick diagram so it will be quick understanding for you. So what is generally happening over here? Okay, here we have configs part. Okay, here is the config part. This config is basically giving directions to SSM. SSM is system manager. Okay, system manager part, like we have system manager automations part, AWS system manager, and it gives applies to the EC2 instances. So what we have done, we have created the AWS config part. Okay, now the SSM, like SSMs are like some kinds of rules they have this pre-created, and these rules will be applied on nothing onto the EC2 instances. So like this way, the things generally flow. Now let me quickly redemptions methods. Let's quickly jump to the our redemptions method. Now here I just talked about I have just created a role. This is my role. Okay, how what exactly the role I have been created? So let me quickly a new create a rule. AWS case. What is the case you want to use? I just want to use for the system manager I just talked about, because it is going to directly contact with my EC2 instances. Allow AWS services like EC2, Lambda, other platforms to actions. Now you have to just quickly move to the next part, and you have to just provide the right now EC2. I'm just giving right now the administrative access. Okay, I'm not giving any some kinds of security groups. I'm just providing the secure administrative access to this particular part. Now you have to just move next, and you have to just create a role. What the role name you want? I just want to EC2 config SSM. I'm just using this kinds of role name. You have to just quickly create the role. The role has been created. What's the name we have just provided? EC2 config SSM. Okay, once you are into it, you have to just copy the ARN ID. Once you are back, you have to just in the parameters part, you have to just copy and the paste the ARN ID over has been used here. Now you have to just quickly save the changes. Okay. Now the success restricted SSH has been updated. Now here you will check the remediate methods going to come. It takes some times to come back. I don't know why. It's like some AWS policies. It takes some times to come and it takes some time to load. So here you can check it out. Redemptions actions they have just added with the AWS disable part. Now like this way you can add many more rules you want to apply. You want to access key rotations. You want to go with the some kinds of EC2 policies also. So you can just search for the EC2 even. Okay, these are the like approvers, auto scaling, auto scaling, all these particular things. It takes some more policies been attached and allowed over here. You can just create the multiple rules by your choice, and you can just have them with you. So that's our wrap up of AWS config in simple. Like we have just talked about how the AWS config helps into the security world, how you can just secure your environment, how you can secure your things, and like this way, this generally AWS config, and you can create the multiple rules over here. So all right, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, please share and subscribe. If you have queries, if you have questions, you can ask me in the comment section. See you soon in the next video.